All right, so A&M has officially fired head coach Jimbo Fisher. And to preface this, I really thought he would have some success as a head coach. I mean, anytime you can bring in a national championship coach, I mean, that's a win for you. And especially A&M, I thought that was a good hire for them. I mean, they've got some money, but they're not always the most successful college football program. Uh, and he did bring in talent. I mean, they've got a top 5 recruiting class every year. They just haven't turned it into wins, and they've really been like right there. They just can't quite get over the hump. So it's probably time for a change. It was a weird timing though for the change because like after a butt kicking, especially, and usually when that happens, like they know who they're getting. I mean, like, there's no doubt all right, we're gonna fire him so we can hire this guy, go ahead and get him started on his recruiting class. And that wasn't the case here. So I don't know, some questionable stuff for A&M. Obviously, they want to get it right with this hire because Texas is coming in to the SEC, so that's going to kind of creep into their recruiting a little bit probably. Obviously, they already recruit some of the same kids, but being the SEC is going to really impact it even more. Let's go ahead and get to the candidates here. So some of these are realistic. Some of these aren't realistic, in my opinion. These are like names I've seen thrown around. And while I don't believe they're realistic, like why would this person leave for A&M? Sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire. You know what I mean? And A&M's AD is not afraid to throw around the money. Similar to like LSU, they've lured in some guys that I wouldn't think go there. Like I wouldn't have thought Brian Kelly would leave Notre Dame for LSU. He did, and LSU's done that with a lot of stuff. And similar to A&M, like I didn't think they'd be able to get Jimbo, but they did. So some of these names we're going to read, and we're going to be like, even I'm going to be like, there's no shot they're leaving Florida State, for example, to go to A&M. But sometimes, like I said, where there's smoke, there's fire. And yeah, you never know. But let's go ahead and start it off here. Jeff Traylor, UTSA head coach. So it did come out last week that he interviewed for the job. He would accept it, I believe, if they offered him. Somebody asked him during his press conference if he had interviewed for the job, and he didn't deny it. He kind of like tried to sell himself. It was almost like a salesman's pitch at the same time. He's like talking about the seniors, but then he was also talking about the success he had with those seniors. So it was kind of like trying to throw that in there in the end. It's like, well, we've had these 18 seniors who have won 2 conference championships while I've been here, 10 win seasons, all that crap, trying to sell himself to A&M. I think he would be an all right hire. I don't think the A&M fan base would be okay with this hire, though. I feel like they're going to want to reach higher than the UTSA head coach. He's got background roots in Texas as a high school coach, but I don't know. I feel like they could do a little better than this. All right, so Dan Lanning, Oregon head coach. I don't think this is a realistic possibility, but we got to talk about it because his name has been thrown around. I don't know why I would leave Oregon. I feel like that's probably more of a moneymaker than A&M is. So this one, out of all the names on this list, I would probably say Dan Lanning is the most unrealistic. I don't see him leaving. Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss head coach. Now, look, he is the head coach at an SEC school and a successful one at that. They're a top 10 program. But he has complained that they don't have the resources there to kind of get them over the hump. So in that Georgia loss last week, he was like, yeah, we've got the mentality. We just need more 5 stars. Where can you get more 5 stars? A&M. So if A&M can somehow load the boat and offer Kiffin a boatload of money, I would not be surprised if Lane Kiffin's the next A&M coach. I don't think that'll happen, but if they offer him enough money, I think he would leave. And that's the case with anybody probably, you know what I mean? But I think I legit think A&M is probably a better job than Ole Miss. Ole Miss has been better, but if he's complaining about not getting 5 stars at Ole Miss, he could definitely get 5 stars at A&M. They're loaded with talent. They probably have one of the top 5 rosters in the nation. They just can't win with it. I mean, they brought in the best recruiting class of all time last year, I think, A&M. All right, so next up, Mike Elko, Duke head coach. So this one I kind of have mixed feelings on. I think this is the best hire they could realistically get probably. I think Mike Elko is a good head coach. The only thing is he came in as DC. He's been the DC at A&M. He came in with Jimbo Fisher. So I'm wondering, would he feel like he's stepping on Jimbo's toes? You know what I mean? Kind of betraying your friend if I'm taking the job after you got fired. I don't know if that would happen or not. He has had success at Duke. If Riley Leonard, their quarterback, doesn't get hurt this year, they're a top 25 team. So I think they could do a lot worse than Elko. I think he's a solid get. Next up, Lance Leipold, Kansas head coach. He's won everywhere he's been. It's kind of hard to win at Kansas. Now, they were successful 15 years ago. But other than that, they haven't really had a lot of success. He's done a pretty good job there. He's won in the Division II ranks. He's won in Buffalo. So this wouldn't be a bad hire. I don't know if he'll leave. Now, with how everything's shaping up with realignment, the SEC is a big jump, like as far as it's a big tier ahead of Kansas as far as the Big 12. So if a Big 12 coach gets a good offer, you probably would see them jump into the Big 10 or the SEC, But I question if he would leave for A&M. Like I feel like he's a better fit kind of in the Midwest. Similar with the next guy. So Chris Klieman, K-State head coach. He's won everywhere he's been. He's won in the D2 ranks. He's won at Kansas State, won a Big 12 championship last year. I'm not sure he'll leave because the Big 12, they're losing Texas and Oklahoma. So really that league's kind of up for grabs now. The thing with all these guys is, besides probably Florida State and Oregon, I think A&M is going to be able to offer more money than their school can. So if they, like I said, if they bring the bank, I think they could probably get anybody on the list besides Florida State and Oregon. Next up, Jonathon Smith, Oregon State head coach. I don't think he'll leave. Oregon State is going to drop down a tier because they're going to probably move like to the Mountain West essentially. The only problem here is he is a graduate of Oregon State, so I don't think he'll leave his alma mater for A&M, but you never really know. Next up, Mike Norvell, Florida State head coach. He's also been the Memphis head coach before this. I don't think he leaves because they're a top 4 team right now, and I don't think he leaves for A&M. Now, we have seen the Florida State head coach leave for A&M, so never say never, but I don't think that happens. I don't see him leaving. Eli Drinkwitz, Missouri head coach. He's done a really good at Missouri this year, actually. Probably the most surprising team this year is Missouri, in my opinion. If you would have told me at the beginning of the year Missouri is a top 10 team, I would have called you nuts. But here we are. They're looking like a top 10 team, top 15 team. Eli Drinkwitz is actually a pretty good coach. And last but not least, Kalen DeBoer, Washington head coach. He's another one I don't really see leaving Washington. I feel like, he's got a top 4 team right now, and they're headed to the Big 10, so they're not really going down in pecking order at all. So I just don't see him leaving. So out of all these names, these are the 10 names I've seen thrown around by people, by sources, and I haven't really seen any other names. So I'm assuming it's probably coming from this list somewhere. The realistic candidates, I would say my top 3. Okay, so not in any particular order. Jeff Traylor has interviewed, so he's a definite viable candidate. Like I said, I think he would be a solid hire. I just don't know if you could sell the A&M fan base on hiring a group of 5 coach. Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss head coach. I think if you can pull Lane Kiffin, this is probably who you go get. If you can pay him enough, I think this is probably the coach you would want. And then Mike Elko, Duke head coach. He's had success at Duke. Would be a solid hire. Out of all those 3, like I said, I would hire Kiffin. I don't know if they will because you're going to have to pay up. You're going to have to pony up for Kiffin. I think they will hire Mike Elko. I think that's who they're going to end up hiring. Like I said, I would hire Kiffin. I think they'll hire Elko, though. Let me know who you think they would hire down in the comment section, who they will hire. My bad. Who would you hire down in the comment section? Let me know. And who do you think they'll hire? Comment down below. Make sure to like this video and subscribe.